Now, let's look at some different answers that I've received from Protestants in YouTube comment sections when they are confronted with the fact that scriptural interpretations exist in the writings of those taught, discipled, approved, chosen, and ordained by the apostles. And then we'll finally go look and compare these answers to those of Luther and Calvin. The first and most common answer I've received is one of pride and dismissiveness that boils down to thinking one knows better than the fathers, better than the disciples of the apostles. This answer seems to be most common among evangelical or non-denominational Protestants who have little to no knowledge and or respect for early church history. Interestingly, this answer is also largely the answer of Luther and Calvin, especially Luther, from the citations I've been able to gather and will soon show you. The next most common answer I receive to my challenging patristic questions is Protestants embracing the early fathers and trying to claim them as their own. This answer seems to be more common among mainline or confessional Protestants, like Anglicans, Lutherans, or other so-called high church denominations. On the slide here, I have an exact quote from a Protestant in the comments section who said, "Anyone who says, 'Believe me, not the fathers,' is a restorationist and not Protestant in any meaningful sense of the term." So Protestants like this commenter would say something like Luther and Calvin, we honor and accept the church fathers too. And by restorationist, I assume he had in mind Mormons, Jehovah's Witnesses, and the like. Now, I really like this answer. This is a Protestant who not only truly honors the early fathers as they deserve, but also rightly recognizes just how the theology and history of those Protestants in category number 1 is no better than that of restorationist sects like Mormonism. Very sharp and insightful. The Protestant in category number 2 is my kind of person. Someone who apparently just doesn't know the fathers well enough to know just how Catholic they are when it comes to the canon and scripture and interpretation of scripture, the sacrificial nature of the Eucharist, the supreme local authority of bishops, and the supreme universal authority of councils and Roman bishops. These kinds of Protestants are rightly open to and respectful of patristic evidence. Based on my own limited research and study of Luther and Calvin, I'd say that neither of them really fit into this second category, but Calvin seems to fit much more than Luther. Calvin tries much more often to draw upon the fathers to support his views and arguments, and to argue generally that his religious system is restoring and in continuity with the early church. Even though it seems clear, Calvin did not read the fathers holistically and in context, and merely cherry-picked quotes for polemical reasons, as even some Protestant scholars have noticed and admitted. The third and last answer I've received to my challenging patristic questions is to doubt or reject the existence of the Apostolic Fathers altogether or the authenticity of the writings attributed to them. This is a rare response, and for good reason, since it is a very dangerous and suicidal move, in my opinion. This is the kind of argument we expect from ultra-skeptical atheists, agnostics, and other non-Christians who wish to undermine the reliability and authenticity of the New Testament, not just the Apostolic Fathers. And if we can't trust in the existence and credibility of these fathers, that also undermines the reliability and credibility of the New Testament. That is because the reliability and credibility of the New Testament largely relies upon its reception in the early church community and vouching for its reliability and credibility. And a chain is only as strong as its weakest link. Now, I get the impression it is more common to question the authenticity of the writings rather than the existence of these fathers, though James White's debate with Joe Heschmeyer makes me wonder. Now, in this video, my goal is not to thoroughly respond to each of these three answers, especially not a rare one that borrows from non-Christians. My goal is to introduce different Protestant approaches and then see which ones Luther and Calvin employed. Now, regarding this third approach, as we'll see, John Calvin does make use of it with respect to Clement of Rome and Ignatius of Antioch, the earliest of the Apostolic Fathers with writings attributed to them. We don't really have much to go on with Luther, as far as I know, with this approach, though he may have shared Calvin's view. The one Protestant in the YouTube comment section who responded this way also requested proof not based on, quote, Catholic sources or tradition, and didn't explain what he meant by that after I asked him to. Is the testimony of 2nd century writers to the existence of these apostolic fathers and their authenticity, are these 2nd century fathers a Catholic source or just legitimate historical evidence that supports the Catholic case? As another commenter pointed out, this is like the atheist or agnostic skeptic demanding extra biblical sources and excluding legitimate evidence without good reason.